What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
So what is up? Glad you could join us. He's Mike Ivesil, our barbecue buddy, a guy that needs no introduction, certainly from the likes of me, kindly joining us. He's going to be a part. We've been talking this up for weeks. Cannot wait for the alumni matchup at Big Boy Arena, April 27th. Rangers, Wings, get out there. It's going to be a fantastic event. The guy who's going to be a big part of it, as he was in that game back in September against the Bruins, is four-time Stanley Cup champion. There it is. I was waiting for it. You see me? I love that softball, and he crushed it. Tammy says evening already, but Darren McCarty joining us. What's up, Mac?
Hey, Sean, first, let me just say that is so great the way in the introduction you got the guy in the yellow burning Meltdown in the blue there for the one-on-one. I saw that was Meltdown getting burned. Great intro. But Sean, you and I have been friends a long time.
Yeah.
All right. I always say this. Now, I do have 4 Stanley Cups, which a lot of the people are watching and the hockey fans. But what is the one thing that I do have that you know and watched me get that is really the flex of why we are friends 35 years since you saw me play?
91, 92, this guy lit up the OHL. And I still, Mac, I didn't have 55 goals, 72 assists. Dude lit it up.
Player of the year, just remember Kirk Maltby. What a great last year junior. He had 50 goals. D-Mac had 55 and won player of the year. What's that mean? Not only the greatest winger on the grind line, the greatest winger in life. How you guys doing today? What the puck?
Hey.
What the puck?
You walked that right into my first question. This is something I've wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you when we were at Woodward, that 91-92 season, 55 goals, 127 points. Then you get into the NHL. At what point did you realize, or were you told that you're going to have to change that? You're not going to be a goal scorer in the NHL. You're going to be a grinder. You're going to be a fighter. You're going to shut down the top lines. When was that when you made that realization, Darren?
When I was 16. the goals come because I was given by Brian Drum, the most influential person in my hockey career, when I played junior B. And he'd played minor pro, and he was a coach, and I lived with him. And he said, if you want to play in the NHL, you have to do something 99.9% better than everything else. And for you, it's physical, right? So here's the secret. First year in every league, all you do is hit guys, fight guys, whatever like this. Work on all the skills and practice, stuff like this. Don't worry about stats. Why? Because you'll get room. You'll get respect. Then you can. Now, here's the whole thing. It's not like I'm not a natural, like the goal scoring ability and the nose and stuff like this. I was a scorer growing up and stuff like this. Like you have to have some natural talent for it, right? But Mike, and by the way, when we were at Woodward, if you quit shoving roast beef down my throat, I might have been able to answer this question, which I'm a little bit upset. I got to get out to the butchery or whatever to get some good grub. But the fact is, I knew my ticket to the NHL was always being physical and fighting and stuff like this. The same thing with junior. My first year junior, I had 12 goals, but I had, 20 some fights. And then the next year I had 30 goals. And the next year I had 55. You got room. First Adirondack, right? The first year in every league, you revert back to the beginning. I had 45 majors and also 19 goals. And so the ability that I always knew, like, it was a caveat. That's why I always, growing up a Red Wings fan, knew that Darren McCarty, could play a role. And the best way to describe it for all of us who are, I just turned 52, but our age is, there used to be the Kibbles and Bits commercial where the little dogs, hey, Spike, jumping over. Well, that's how I grew up feeling about the Bruise brothers and Joey and Proby. They were both too tough to fight these little rats, keep the gnats off. That's what they needed D-Mac for. Also, Stevie and stuff like that. But I always, it's funny, Sean, because, and it brings up this story because Keith Gaves, I think he's doing a grind line book, and I sat down. But he reminded me when I got drafted because he asked me the question, do you remember who Curtis Bowen was? And I was like, of course I do. He was the freaking first rounder that almost cost Detroit their whole future because they didn't pick me to the second round. And Keith Gave told me, he said, do you remember the interview you had with me at the thing? And I said, dude, I don't remember yesterday. But he said, you told me that, pretty much paraphrasing, that I can play. I'm gonna prove it. I can play. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna make a difference. And then that, I've always, and that's just self-confidence, Sean. And since that. So Mike, it wasn't hard because I wasn't the crusher, rusher, usher guy. I had to be reminded sometimes as I got, because the goon can't handle prosperity, as Paul Coffey used to say. So I'd start scoring and then I might get a little high on my horse, but I would be reminded. But it was always easy, especially younger. That it was always easy to play that role because it's a role. I got to go to work and do the thing that I wanted to do, the team I wanted to do it for, play the role. I mean, I used to laugh. And do you think I was ever going to give anybody that job?
No,
No, not until like at the end when the lockout came and stuff like that. I was more into the band and stuff, but I had 3 cups by then. I mean, like, come on, like, if we haven't figured out that hockey is what I did or what I do, it's not who I am, right?
Yep.
So come on.
Now, you know what, Mac, the funny thing about it is I still think people around here don't appreciate the OHL. And I've been fortunate. USHL, college, I love it all. It's the game. There's just something about the OHL. I know your former teammate, your buddy Chris Osgood, a big Ontario Hockey League guy. It is just such a unique place. And for you to leave Leamington and head to a place like Belleville, I mean, that people don't understand. You're leaving the house 16 years old. You're going to live with a billet, whatever the case may be. But what a great, everybody who's played in Belleville, from Yardman Arena to the area, just as it spoke so highly of Belleville. What was that experience like making that transition for you?
Well, for me, it was cool. So we'll take it back growing up in Leamington. And you know why Ozzy loves Ozzy wishes he played in the OHL. He played in the Dub. That's why he didn't go buy a team out west. He got into Saginaw. But the thing, so I grew up, and I remember when I was younger and going to the Windsor Arena and stuff, that was when Adam Graves and Paul Maurice, who's the coach of Florida now, Jungle Jim Revenberg, psycho, awesome. They had a great team. So I remember going to that barn, when I was a kid. But for me, going and playing, because I went from Leamington junior or Bantam to junior B in Peterborough. And that was the year that the Petes went to the finals. They had Ricci and Ty Domi and stuff like this. So that's when I really fell in love with it. You want to bitter. Belleville drafted me first pick of the 4th round. And Peterborough passed with 2 picks in the 3rd round. I played under their nose. So don't think that I didn't go back and haunt Jeff Toohey and Dick Todd and all those guys. But grow with those guys, right? So you got guys that you're idolizing, even though they're a couple years older than you and stuff like this. But you knew they were, touted, NHL guys. So you got to see, a little bit. And honestly, back in the late 80s and 90s, man, like your rock star status,
100%.
as a junior. But the big thing for me, right, because there's always this sort of school hockey guys, and there's like this, it's like 2 different groups. Not when I went to Belleville, at least my 2nd and 3rd year, right? And I take so much pride in that, to having, Darren Dink Reynolds and Tom Killenbeck and Joe Roberto and all these guys I still talk to this day, that are friends I went to high school with, that are just great, great dudes. I had my last year junior, not just because I won player of the year and all that, was the most fun, right? Like, just because we had a great team, played with Brent Gretzky and Jake Grimes and Similero, Greg Dreveny, like we had like so much fun. Belleville is such a great team. I see that they're playing on the NHL Network right now. They're playing because they got an AHL team now. So, and the best part, Sean, at the end of the day, for a kid, me that runs on the ice that can't skate, you throw him in the Olympic-sized pool in Belleville, and then he comes out, and at the end of the day, he'll have 4 cups. That's how it works.
That is great. You have that great OHL career. The NHL draft comes up. You got drafted 46th. First, did you expect to go sooner than 46? And then once you got drafted, what was your draft night like?
Yeah, oh, it was awesome because I was 19 and we were in Montreal, and so that's the drinking age. So I remember being shit faced with my Red Wing jersey on in the middle of downtown. I think me and Motor City Smitty were doing shots, or like I had the family there. It was awesome. Yeah, Curtis Bowen went last pick in the late in the first round of Detroit, and I thought that I had to fade the first pick by Ottawa and Edmonton's second round pick. Which actually was behind Detroit because I think Maltz went. Or Maltz went in the third round. So, anyways, when Ottawa didn't pick me, I was like, and I remember the moment, the old Montreal Forum, and sitting there with my parents, and I got all the families like there in the thing, and I remember when they said 46 overall Detroit Red Wings, right winger, from Belleville. And I'm like thinking in my head, there's nobody else on my team eligible, right? Like that right wing. Gretz was a center, Grimes was a center, and it was like right wing bell, and it was like that chill. The same feeling I got after I scored the goal, March 26th, 97, behind the net, was the same feeling. It's one of those, oh my God, like sort of dream come true. And best part of the story about that is, like I said, and I had the whole family there. We probably had like 50, 60 people and stuff. But my cousins and my uncle got the elevator broke down with like 3 cases of beer in it. When they came out, there was half of one left.
Mac,
on my day.
Yeah. Mac, I want to go back to something you said for a second. I don't think people realize, especially in the late 80s, when you said so many of these guys were rock stars, the late Brian Fogarty, like you heard these legends of Brian Fogarty.
41 offense, the Niagara Falls Thunder.
Oh my God.
Fogarty.
When you went and saw, I remember going over Windsor and seeing him, and like honestly, it was like, oh, there he is. I mean, really, there was like a rock star presence about so many of those guys. A really special time in that league. It really was. We had Dan Deneau on a couple weeks ago, and I passed we passed along your message. And when I said March 26, he kind of got this sly smile on his face. And I said to him, I go, I know you haven't been here for a while, but you realize that's like a national holiday, right? And it was kind of funny, Mike, because I almost got the impression that he was like, seriously? And I go, every year. I mean, it's in essence, the Darren McCarty Day. All these years later, Mac, do you ever sit back and go, seriously? Are we still making a big deal about this? I mean, all these years later, we still are making a big deal about
this. What are you talking about, Shawty? I'm the one who makes the biggest deal out of it. So are you kidding me? And only because, right? I always tell everybody, I go, the movie 300? Yeah, I wasn't Leonidas. I was the one-eyed narrator they send back to tell the story, right? Because that's all it is. March 26, 1997. And I know I'm biased, all right? I slayed the dragon, got the girl. I get it. But to me, that's Red Wing D-Day. I can tell before and after from that and a lot of things. And it's more so the biggest thing is, and you know what, like, and I'll use this analogy because it just happened, but you see how like people that were in on the eclipse, like they didn't care what politics were or whatever. Like you saw it all across the country, especially areas. People were gathering to take in something together. Well, March 26, 97, because of the gravity of what it meant, and not even to get into the, my diatribe of it's the greatest script ever written, and, could only be written by God. Not even Scorsese, Ford Coppola, or Spielberg could write that script, right? But again, I'm biased, right? But the whole thing is because at the end of when I scored, it wasn't just that feeling, it's going to be all right. don't know what it means, but it's going to be all right. That was the feeling for every single person that was a Red Wings fan, no matter how old. I mean, your freaking pets that wear the freaking the jerseys and stuff. They were like, man, I get it too. Like it was like we were tough enough. We were like, you know what I mean? But everybody was like, okay, and everybody just chilled the fuck out. Sorry, just chilled
No, it's all
out, right? You know what I mean? Just like relax and we didn't know, like, don't know what it means. But then the payoff is boom, boom, boom right there, 3 months later. But it was such that togetherness event. So why we need to bring it up is because we all share it. Now,
Yep.
the freaking beauty is that all the 5, 10, 15-year-olds are now 30, 35, 40, which means what? They've lived life.
Yep.
They've fallen in love. They've had debt. They got kids. So the gravity of in life and sports, bad things happen, but you can't lose respect for a fellow human being because you know what? Karma is real. That day it was DMAC. But the fact is that the story makes so much more sense. I got to tell you real quick while I remember this. My favorite thing that I got this DM last summer. And I get this, and I don't know what it is, right? In direct message, and it's a picture, of this wedding party, but they're in a suite, right? You can see the groom but dude, and it's a selfie of them, and the caption says, "Hey D-Mac, the fellas and I, it's a big moment right now. I wanted to share with you. Thanks for not letting us grow up to be pussies." And you know what? That's so that's what that means is the right and wrong, the good, the bad, the togetherness, no matter what, how around. I know you started this with Dandy. I love hearing because we never talk about it, so we only hear through like the media and if stuff's written is everybody else's perspective on that day and that situation. I mean, I tell everybody where I was from and what I saw and how it played out with me, but it's always cool to hear the other guys too.
No.
So we've seen the footage on the ice. We know what it was all about. What was that day like? The build up to getting to that moment, like going to the rink, getting in that locker room. What was the locker room like before that game?
You know what? I honestly don't remember. Don't remember other than that. To answer your question, I'll tell you what this, Mike, and this might seem. I got because at the time, and if anybody knows my story, right? I'm celebrate 11/11/15 is my sobriety date, so it's over 8 years, whatever like this. But I battled alcoholism my whole life. But the first time I got sober was after it was in July of 96. So for the whole and it's my fault we don't have 12 cups, we only have 4 because I was sober for all of them. I'm sorry, all right? Some of us fucked up even more now. But the fact is I was being my group son Griffin was just born and I was so trying to figure out and think about, because the season's going on. And Lemieux didn't play twice. We played once there, but didn't really get a chance and whatever else. But think about how many times you've thought about getting somebody back or, the revenge, stuff like this. And the bottom line is the gravity is we had to win the game. The game winning was more important. I love when Shanny talks about it because he said we never talked about anything about this, just what went down. I know that it was so bad for me that the beginning of March, I got on my knees and said, God, I can't do this anymore. Just whatever happens, please let me be the messenger. You think he listened? Feel free. I mean, tell him D-Max sent you if you need to use the big man. But I mean, gosh darn it. Right?
And I think if anything,
Mike, all I can remember about
that
day, or before the game was calm before the storm. That's what it felt like. It felt like honestly, like there was this quiet confidence above us that we were going into the shit storm, dude, because they beat us out last year. We hadn't beaten them since. We had nothing to go on other than each other. And that's why I always say no matter what in life, when the person next to you is more important to you than you are to yourself, you'll win.
And I think it kind of adds to the lore of that moment of we just wanted to win the game. We went in thinking we had to win that game, like Shanny said, and then this happened. So that kind of adds.
Well,
to
this was gonna happen,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yep.
Regardless whether I had to skate Chuck into the other bench and do something stupid because I know all the people would have sent me commissary. That was all cool. Like I wasn't worried about doing something dumb. But that's why when I tell the story, like sit back and think. Wasn't the strongest, the fastest, maybe the wisest or the eldest in Larionov that kicked that party off. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
need a little push.
It's
And
amazing.
the rest is history. So I answer your question 27 years later. Absolutely not. I'll be talking about it in the 28th year. I just got to think of better things to do. I mean, the 25-year, if you go back for 25 years, I sat down with Claude Lemieux and then ESPN did Unrivaled and stuff, which is, I think it's such a great story because
Awesome.
it's life. And if anybody wants to know my relationship with Claude Lemieux today, listen, if you're on the ice with Claude Lemieux and you turn your back, you, my friend, are an idiot. But off the ice, Darren McCarty will turn his back.
Rich brings it up. So many people. D-Mac still remember the Game 4 goal. You know what? We can talk about the goal, but the one thing I want to talk to you about, Mac, is those NHL commercials that they create at playoff time. My favorite commercial, but by far, is showing guys' reactions when they you're without words. Some idiot like me walks in front of you and hands a mic. How are you feeling right now? What do you mean? How am I feeling? I've been thinking about this moment my whole freaking life.
Yeah.
And what would you? That is
I love it because I made the cut.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Was it
you and
08?
Ozzy, yeah,
Was it 08?
yeah, you and Ozzy just sitting there going, Mac. You're a Wings fan. You grow up in the backyard in Leamington. How can you even put into words all these years later what that experience was like?
Don't ever let anybody tell you what you can and you cannot do. It's what you're willing to sacrifice and priorities and whatever else. And everybody takes community to raise a child for sure. And I owe so many people, you know, the gratitude that I've always tried to live with and show is just given the opportunity, right? I mean, it's like I've made my life. I've made like I'm built, and some people are built by like people always telling you why you can't do things, and I'm used to. I just shove it. I'm into just seeing how far I can shove it up their rear ends, right, and make it come out their mouth, and maybe bleed out their eyes or something like that. Like because and now even more so. When it's not about me. I mean, like my story, whatever, like this to where I'm at, but it's for all those young kids to know that like I'm living proof because I wasn't the thing that I had, the thing that I am a Hall of Famer in, right? Is if I put my mind to something, I will accomplish it. No matter what it is. So in life, I had to realize that can be good or bad because the universe will conspire positively or negatively, whichever way you want to go. Right. So yeah. And like, I guess the short answer too, Sean, is like, it's surreal. It's surreal. All I ever wanted was to get my picture out. I used to walk into the Leamington Arena since I was like 7 years old or 8 years old and look up and see a picture of Kirk Bowman, Tim Haranovich, Brad Selwood, Pat Ribble, guys that played in the NHL from my town. And all I wanted ever was to get my picture up. Right. So that rink's not there anymore, but it's at the other rink. And you know what, there's so many different lessons, but it's like find your role, find something that you be passionate about and own it more than anybody else, and don't ever let that go. But you got to be passionate about it, right? That's
great advice.
And sometimes you'll have, like me, a whole bunch of different passions. Then it's who you surround yourself with to make sure that, for me, why it's easy now with all the things that I do. And it's not like anybody doesn't see me. It's probably like some people go, there he is again, but it's because when I push the hardest on something, you'll go see me do something else till everybody catches up. So,
Great stuff.
and health and wellness and just, never people knowing that you can always you can get here. And because, and being honest, is that there was moments that I didn't think that I ever would. Right. Again, now I don't fight for me. I fight for everybody else that's always believed in me and prayed for me. And those are my favorites. Seeing people that have been praying 30 years.
Yeah.
As Tammy said, every Wing fan has at least one Darren autograph in their house. I mean, you've made yourself so accessible. Had to bring that up. There's no doubt about that.
I hope so. I'm trying to get that fight photo in every man cave, woman cave, restaurant, bar in the state. I mean, I honestly, 27 years, probably signed 75,000 of them.
Oh,
so we got it. There's a lot more to go, people. Let's go. Come on out. I'll sign.
John's
like, I'm not good. That's the one thing, Sean, with me is that, I definitely, today I know my worth, but that has nothing to do with my signature.
John said, love the wrestling shows in Windsor as well. So wanted to get that out there.
That was my favorite that was my bucket list moment, giving Bully Ray Dudley the D-Max Stoner and putting him through a table. So
I know
I get to do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
If I could step back to what Tammy had said, I had wrote something down here. I've run into you obviously at Woodward, and you always made me feel welcome to have a conversation about hockey. I've got a picture on my phone that Sean laughs every time it comes up. It's you and my son. You went out of your way to talk to him. Where are you playing hockey? He had a broken arm at the time. What had happened? Every time I see you, you're with the fans. Is that naturally who you are or who you were, Darren? Or is that a lesson you learned coming up through the NHL, to pay it forward, to make sure you take care of those fans? Because you do an unbelievable job of that.
No, I mean, it's always, now it's nurtured, right? Like it's always like before. I mean, I was always D-Mac. Now I have D-Max there, but I'm more Darren, but I always say I'm a battery. The people are my power. They're the ones that have driven me. So but the blessing is that I've always been the way that I am and genuine. It's just the way. So there's no, like, I call it like I see it. I think people respect that. And I think that in that there's a responsibility in being consistent and being accountable. Right. Because if also too, if I tell you once, I'm going to show you twice. Now, I think it's like from before, but a lot too, and I'll talk about, when I was in my addiction or whatever like that, I didn't like who I was. So I had to be D-Mac. It's always easy to be D-Mac because everything to everybody else and stuff. But it's the people that, have sort of helped. But we've always had that relationship. I'm the one who's always out and about. I mean, if you haven't run into me, I mean, like, especially back in the day, but there was also in my addiction, it was like I had FOMO, and fear of missing out. And, I mean, it was just living the gimmick, as they say in wrestling, a little bit more. So, no, but it's such a blessing because now, because of the way that I am, when I hear all the stories, and I'm the one that you approach and you come and get the picture and you tell me when we've met before, and know that I probably won't remember. Here's the key. If you have a picture of us, right? Because, and especially if it's been in the last 20 years or whatever, because I look at me to try to recognize where I was, to put it in, and a lot of conversations can go from there. And there's I love my fans because there's a ton of them that have a ton of patience that I can't remember their name, but I remember their face every time. And I apologize every time, but we know that we know each other. But you know what? That's a whole other conversation about Darren McCarty brand, about, brain cells and stuff like that. But take the good with the bad here, Sean.
No doubt.
What the fuck, bro?
I told this guy we'd get him off in 20, 25 minutes. So I got to try to get him off in just a second. I know he's got things to do. I want to vouch for him, though, because he was that guy. Mac, I always joke with you back in the days of the Scotty Bowman curtain, okay? You know what? We would give Mac the puppy eyes. Please give me a quote. Mac would roll his eyes and come out and give you exactly what you wanted. He's always been that guy with fans, media alike. And as Tammy said, he is the mayor of LCA. Speaking of LCA, it didn't turn out the way that any of us wanted last night, Mac. That doesn't mean the season's over. People carrying on like the season's over. But I'll tell you what, a lot of fun nights recently at Little Caesars Arena. I've had the fortune of coming down, and it's great to come to the game as a fan. I'm not going to lie. I love coming down as a fan, but your thoughts on where the Wings are at right now?
Well, you know what? Biggest game of the year again, for the last
right?
4.
Right.
Here's the luxury, Sean. No matter what, think about it. If they do get in the playoffs, what's that mean? They've had to win 3 or 4 of the last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about the NHL playoffs getting hot at the right time? Is now not the perfect time to play your best games of the season? And again, I see the big picture. I know the man that's putting this together. I understand this is about long term and this is about the long haul, and it's about getting back to the playoffs and being contenders. We're still a few guys away. What I learned is you should realize why Steve Eisman locked up Michael Rasmussen when he did. That the 2 most valuable forwards on your team are Dylan Larkin and Michael Rasmussen, right? And not just like Kane's been phenomenal. Kane might be the best free agent signing during the season this year, by any team or whatever else for the value and stuff. But Dylan Larkin and it's learning. There's levels to this.
Yeah.
They jumped the level and whether they make the playoffs or not, right, does not determine whether it's positive or negative season, because if you look at it like a ladder, you've jumped a couple rungs. You're further along. You got guys that are going to make, Axel Pelican freak, whatever the kid's name is. You got defensemen, in Sweden and in the minors, and you got kids, and it's about the long haul and getting back. So it's frustrating because the car flags came out again. But this could be, and it's great narratives. I mean, it's what do they say, root for radio? Either way, there's a narrative. I mean, honestly, for the best thing for them might be to miss the playoffs because they got so short, but I'm not wishing that. I picked them to make the playoffs. I hope they do. And I think that the way that it's set up, if they do, they'll be hot because it's not going to be easy. So, few lessons learned, but they've definitely made some strides this year. But there's questions, right? But the questions aren't till next week.
Right. Absolutely. Tony said, congrats on sobriety, brother. I know Tony's been sober for a while. Craig Nat said, love you, my brother.
Love you, Downer.
Needed to throw that out there. Mac, we could sit and talk to you all night. I know you got things to do. Make sure you check him out on Woodward. Check him out at LCA. He's all over the place.
Hold on. And then, if not, Big Boy Arena, April 27th.
There you go. Look at him. Look at him.
That is great.
Hey, look at
there
that.
We go. Taking on the Rangers. that little mouth Avery's going to be there, right?
Oh, isn't that crazy? I know.
I love him. Dude, he's just, yeah. He's just a lot of the ways he's just misunderstood, and a lot of the ways he didn't have a chance when you throw him with Chelly and Holly at the beginning. But I think a lot of times, it'll be great to catch up with him, and I can't wait to see what chirps he's got, because he'll have a whole bunch.
April 27th, and I'll tell you what, when you get the pros on the ice, that level of competition in the third period goes up about 78 notches. It's awesome. Mac's going to be there. So many big name Wings and Rangers going to be there, and it's for charity. Mac, I say this every week. What you guys do with the Alumni Association, not enough is said about it. How you guys get out there and you play games and you do it for charity. Of course, you're having a blast, but you're giving back to the community. That's what you are all about, my friend, and I appreciate you, everything you do in the community, and certainly I appreciate you as a friend as well.
You got it. As always, Michael, nice to see you. You're making me hungry just looking at you.
Come over. We'll have a barbecue.
Welcome over here.
It's good to see. Good to see Blakey, too.
All right.
Catch up. Good to catch up with you guys. We'll see you soon, hopefully for a playoff game.
You got it. Anytime. Darren McCarty kindly joining us. I promised him 20, 25 minutes.
Okay.
Well, sorry, Mac.
25 is 35 for us.
Yes, absolutely. Again, April 27th, that's the spot. And I want to tell you something, because Nick Monticelli from WDIV, for those of you that get up early in the morning, I never used to be one of those guys. I know you never used to be. We both are now.
Yep.
Make sure you're watching Channel 4 early Friday morning, because there's going to be some really, really cool stuff that they have video of and pictures of involving Vladdy. Vladdy's going to be out there. He was at the Bruins game as well. But you're not going to want to miss this. So check out WDIV to go all George Kell on you for some really cool stuff. And you know what? It was an honor to be up in the broadcast booth for the first one. It'll be an honor to be in the broadcast booth for the second one. And I'm telling you, guys, this is a great event. If you're watching this show, you're a hockey fan.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you think that we're both handsome guys, then I would tell you to get your eyes checked. But you are watching this because you're a hockey fan. I promise you, you'll have a blast out in Fraser, April 27th, Wings, Rangers. There it is, Big Boy Arena. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. Hope to see you out there for sure.
Yeah, I'm very upset that I'm going to miss it, but I'm missing it for a good reason. But I will be at the next one for
You're
sure.
going to be in Minnesota,
Minnesota.
right?
I'll be in
Good
Minnesota for the 15th time.
Team Michigan.
Team Michigan. Yep.
Well, you know what I'm doing. I'm lobbing you a
Yeah,
softball so
well,
you can
hey.
talk about Team Michigan.
Well,
right?
I mean, we've got camp coming up here in a week. I think we're going to be out there.
Yes.
Talking to some coaches and some players.
Yes, we are.
And see how it is. But again,
not too far from the house.
we talked about it when the festival weekend was in Chelsea. Now the team is picked, and they have training camp the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st, I believe, are the dates out in Novi. And if you want to see some intense scrimmages, you get there. I want to say they're scrimmaging Saturday night, Sunday morning. Your senior team and your junior team.
Oh,
And
it's
you remember
fantastic.
that game we went to last
Totally.
year?
Absolutely.
You would think it would be, it's all Michigan boys. It's going to be a fun scrimmage. They all know each other. It is to the death. They are still proving their point of who they are. The juniors want to show the senior coaches, hey, look at me for next year. And the seniors are saying, this is why I'm here. And now for this team, we want to repeat this championship.
Brett asked, is Yzerman going to be on the ice? He is not going to be on the ice. And I know Steve is not part of this. Hopefully, for everybody involved, he's busy with the Red Wings. As Tammy brought up, it's a great time. Spend the money for the autograph line. Absolutely. You wouldn't believe, again, these guys are all hanging out. I want to get your thoughts on the Red Wings, because something that Max said, and I don't think he and I had this conversation, but I feel the exact same way and have said it on this.
Okay.
I don't care if the Red Wings make the playoffs. I don't. I'm not being funny. I know I've said it, and I think people understand the context in which I'm saying it. It's not going to change the trajectory in any way, shape, or form. Would I rather them be in the playoffs? Well, of course I would. Of course I would. But Mike, it doesn't matter.
No.
It really doesn't.
The only thing that it matters for is experience. And you don't even know how many guys that are on this team are going to be back and going to be back the next time they make the playoffs. The only thing I keep telling people is, if they do make the playoffs, I want you to think of it this way. They're making the playoffs, and they gave up absolutely nothing at the deadline. They didn't change anything. They didn't lose any prospects. That means more than making the playoffs. If you think about teams of the past, Kenny Holland's teams, just to keep that streak alive, what they gave up to what they got just so they could make the playoffs.
100%.
Knowing that they weren't going to move on, you start depleting your system. Your system is there. The guys are there. Everything is there. You're on the verge of doing it. It would be great to get that experience, but guess what? It's going to be would be good to get that experience of you should have been there, and you gave it away at the end.
You know what's funny? We were talking about this the other day when Shep and I did a show. Check out Shep and Sean.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, you might remember this. This is going back 8 years ago. I got killed in Detroit media because I was somebody, I said it when I was working for Fox at the time, and I said it when I was on the radio. I did not want the Red Wings to sign Pavel Datsyuk. I didn't want it. Mm-hmm. What are you nuts? What's wrong with you and everything? For some of the reasons that you just gave, okay? Pavel Datsyuk was elongating a process that was going to be long and arduous anyway. I would have said, thanks for the memories. We'll have you back one day. We'll hang your rafter, your jersey from the rafters one day. But they kept making those moves that, quite frankly, were kicking the can down the road. You were delaying the inevitable. And the inevitable was this was a team that had to do a drastic rebuild. And that's why I get Steve Yzerman's back in this regard, okay? To me, the clock doesn't even start until next fall. Like, I'm serious. The clock doesn't even start. Like, we're not even 5 years in yet, for goodness sake, okay? And could you make the argument, well, there should be more? Yes, yeah, of course, you can do all that stuff. And I'm not going to argue with that. But there's a reason why there's a term 5-year plan. We're not even 5 years in yet.
And the difficult part is, I think a lot of people, a lot of fans out there are still back in Holland's non-cap days, where you could keep guys longer. You could sign guys to friendly contracts. You could make a mistake and it didn't hurt you. So when you're looking at the 5-year plan, you're talking about weeding out some of those and making smart decisions. And that is where we're at. That's why he said it starts ticking next year. And now is it starting ticking, but the Raymond contract, the Sider contract, there's contracts that are coming up that make it a little bit trickier, where Steve, we had a Tampa fan in here. Steve's not in Tampa. You're not getting that tax break. You're not getting a friendly contract. They're going to have to sign these guys to some money, probably some bridge contracts, but it's there. Edvinson coming up. I mean, Could that guy fit in any better? And that takes the pressure off. Now maybe you need one more top defenseman.
A couple comments. Brett said, I am a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. Yzerman is the best GM. He has a long-term plan. They've gotten better with him. He is a leader through and through. It's a long-term project. Let him do his thing. I've said it once. I've said it 1,000 times. He didn't get the benefit of starting with a Victor Hedman and a Steven Stamkos already in the stable. Tammy said, Holland killed us with the contracts at the end. Yzerman is still cleaning up a mess. Tim said, don't feel bad. Kurt Sylvester of the Free Press pleaded with the Lions not to draft that scat back Barry Sanders. Tim, I don't feel bad at all. Conversely, I'd be interested to hear if pretty much everybody agrees with what I was saying 8 years ago. There was no reason to sign Pavel Datsyuk. There was none. You were delaying the inevitable. And back then, I got killed for it. I mean, this was something that was needed so long ago. It really was. This is, the cupboard, to use an overused term, was depleted, and they were doing everything they could to keep a silly playoff streak alive. And I understand that wasn't exactly Ken Holland's wish, by the way. But with that being said, to me, it's like, no, you know what you have to do? If you want to make moves like that and you want to bring in guys like that, you are delaying the inevitable, and quite frankly, you're making it worse. And I think that's what the Red Wings did for a few years there.
Yeah, they did it for a few years to set themselves further back, is exactly what you're saying. And now they're digging it out. And like you said, come this fall, they are in position. And it has nothing to do with what happens in these next 4 games. Whatever happens, happens. But it starts, the young guys are there, and we keep harping on this every time. I like Lyon. I like where he's at, but the goaltending is going to be the key. Do we have that goalie of the future?
Ted asked, how much of that was Holland taking orders from Mike Ilitch to keep the playoff streak going? How's that? Does that work for you? I hope that gets it across. Jay said, only Yzerman gripe is he could have embraced a full tank rebuild and have a legit shot at a Connor Bedard type talent instead of David Perron, Cop Fabric. You know what you have to do, though? You have to fill out a roster. That's you do. You have to fill out a roster. And especially if you bring in the right guys that can be a positive influence on guys. The problem that I have with tanking, and by the way, I'm let me say for the record, I'm all for tanking. I am. I openly admit it. I'm all for tanking. There are a couple things that come to mind, though. You don't guarantee yourself anything, right? Mm-hmm. There's a kid in Montreal that all of a sudden looks really good that people thought, what are you doing?
15 goals last night.
Jeez, oh, Pete. but you don't automatically get that number one pick. And as you know, I think the Columbus Blue Jackets are proof positive is you have to make the right moves. I think the Edmonton Oilers for a long time, let's face it, the Edmonton Oilers for a long time were another team. Could we nitpick about some things with Steve Yzerman in the first 5 years? Absolutely, we could. I'm going to look at it as there's talent in the system. Is there anybody exceptional right now? I don't think so. Are there guys that could be exceptional? I think Lucas Raymond could be exceptional. I think Mo could be exceptional. I mean, let's wait and see on Edvinson. I think, quite frankly, one man's opinion, I think some people are already writing checks for him that he's not going to be able to cash. That's just one man's opinion.
In Detroit, no way.
Yeah, I know.
I can't
odd?
believe that. If we can get back to the Steve Yzerman question of getting Perron and these guys and not taking to get Berard, you got to have someone when you get a Berard.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just bring a Berard in. Even when you look at Chicago, when they knew they're getting, they started signing guys like that, to get guys so you can have someone. You can't just bring them to an empty team and think something's going to happen. You've got to have guys. He's got a solid base. I think some of that solid base has to go, and we'll replace it, and he'll sign some guys next year, and then we're going to be on our way.
Ted said, works for me, Sean. But the Puck said, that was great for the audio only listeners. Yes, there was a how can I say this? I'm going to say this as delicately as I can. And if you guys can't figure this out, shame on you, but I want to keep my streak alive. Yes, there was a concerted push by ownership to keep a streak going because it was a good marketing ploy.
Mm-hmm.
How's that?
Oh,
is that good?
I mean, if you didn't know that, come on.
There was something, the Wings are heading upwards while other teams are going to see a decline. See, Tammy, I feel the same way with you as you. Okay. Here's another team in our own division, Buffalo.
Yep.
But Buffalo's, I mean, and right now, I'm going to say they have so much talent, it's sickening. Yep. They really, not only in Buffalo, but in the system, but it hasn't worked out for them. But Tammy, I feel the same way as you. I think this division is very close to a transitional period. And now when I say very close, I'm not talking about next year, maybe not even the year after, but I'm going to tell you what, okay? And you guys can call me a slapdick. I don't care. Montreal's loaded.
They're coming. They're coming.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted you to get my back there. Okay.
They're coming. They're coming.
Honest, they're loaded. If you don't believe me, go look.
And especially
Ted, how's Owen Beck looking, by the way? See, and I knew what the Puck would call me a slapdick.
And especially if you've been harping on Primo. If Primo works out the way he's looked the last 2 weeks,
he looked good
with that young talent.
So they're loaded. Okay. We know what Detroit has. Ottawa has some pieces, okay? I think a lot of people thought that they take the step up this year. It didn't happen. Yep. I think there's something in the water up at that place, but that's a story for a different day. Buffalo's loaded. And oh, by the way, you're seeing Tampa all of a sudden start to get up there in age. You're seeing Boston start to get up there in age. Toronto's a different story. I mean, their talent's a little bit younger, but Mike, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there wasn't more of a changing of the guard in the next couple of years. How's that?
I think we've talked about it for a while. We're really excited to see some of this youth come up. And the good part of it for everybody here is Detroit's in the middle of it. Detroit has a chance. I mean, you look at it, Boston and Tampa, they are dropping. Toronto, like you said, is a different story. They're always going to be around there. But the youth of Buffalo and Ottawa, I really, really, really thought Ottawa was going to turn it this year.
So did I.
I really did. We
totally.
We talked a little bit about them earlier in the year, and now they've got he's 105, the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've got to make a change there to be more, to relate more to that locker room. But I love what's coming now. The bad side of that is the Wings are going to have to beat all these teams, in the future to make the playoffs. So it's going to be good times, but you're absolutely right. You have there's going to be 5 from the other division that's going to make it this year.
Yeah.
I think that's going to turn real quick.
I agree. Tammy, I agree with you. I think it's there's going to be a changing of the guard really, really soon. Ted said Beck has been very good here in Saginaw so far. Big playoff series versus the Sioux starts tomorrow night. Owen Beck is another one of their draft choices. He had, I think he had 2 games last year with the Habs. I think he had 2 games, but look who's doing his own podcast over there. Look at Cole Caulfield is sitting at the other podcast table, ready to do his little podcast over there. You know what, Blake? Yes. Will you come on? See, but now I have to say it. Blake from WJR, Mitch Album Show, and of course Sports Wrap. Blake, go right ahead, because you know what? Again, the people that watch this show are hockey fans, and hockey fans are educated. Okay.
Yes.
You are uneducated, but for you to pick this up, it made both Mike and I happy.
Yeah, and before you are 100% spot on. I would have told you that in the text message, but guess who goes to bed at 8:00? This guy. So I was.
That's because you're a fully functioning adult, unlike me. So as a casual hockey fan, after the Wings game last night, I decided, I'm going to stay tuned in and watch the Avs. They're a really good team. I know they have a lot of talent. I had to turn it off because John Buchgras was so bad. It was awful to listen to. I don't understand what they're trying to do with him. And Sean said it perfectly. It's a bit.
It is.
He's a bit. You want to know how bad it was? So I get up in the morning and I catch all the late games on NHL Network, watching the highlights. I couldn't watch the highlights that they were showing. His Nate dog screaming at the one point. He was doing a rhyme of something. It didn't make sense. They weren't even words, but he thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Like razzle dazzle, deaky weeky. Well, what are we doing?
I'm sorry.
McKinnon explodes for that goal, and it was incredible. Like just the speed, everything. But he's screaming Nate dog in the middle of it, and it was absolutely brutal. And I was like, I can't watch this. I turned on an NBA game. That's how bad it was.
See, I'm telling you, Tammy's an educated hockey fan. Amen. I think people that are big hockey fans have felt this way, as I have for the 20 plus years that John Buchgras has been trying to pimp products to sell and things like that, or rip off the Bucci's overtime challenge. Hi, CBC Hockey Night in Canada. Boy, they didn't do that bit 50 years ago.
Hey, Mike Iveso back in grade school. Hey, who's got $1? Let's put it in a pot, and who gets the overtime winner?
I got to yell at the dog.
He's going to go yell at the dog. But Blake, I don't know if you watched any of the college NCAA hockey tournament. Buchgras was doing it. I had to turn that off. He was so bad. It was embarrassing. He might as well have been BU's home announcer when he was doing the game. It was awful. And then he's going to be doing at least one of the games this week, tomorrow.
He said last night in the broadcast that he's traveling right from there to do the games.
I don't get it. By the way, David said, shout out to the U18 St. Clair Shores Saints, Tier 2 national champions last weekend in Delmont, Pennsylvania.
Oh, God,
you have an applause button.
What?
Oh, my Lord in heaven, he's going to kill me because
Sebby. Okay, go ahead. Hold on, wait for these people to quiet down. Okay, go ahead.
No, Sebby played with one of the kids there. I know his dad. His dad texted me the photo of the championship, and he played with the Stallions.
You know what? I'm very happy. I think you know this. I'm very happy. So my cousin coaches the St. Clair Shores team, and they're that's a cool. He's got the picture on his phone.
Landon Burt. Thank you. Okay. My goodness gracious, Mike.
Shout out to my cousin Nick Rajeski, the head coach of the high school team out there. So they're going to be pretty good next year as well.
Real quick before I leave.
What?
I just wanted to remind everyone to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting more subscribers, so me talking about it clearly is doing something. It has grown, and please like the video. We really appreciate everyone out there listening. We've gotten caught up on some podcasts. All the off the air ones are caught up, and What the Puck will be completely caught up this weekend. So we appreciate everyone listening on the audio side and watching us and everything. And
so is that why you can't come over my house on Saturday? For all the times you say I'm mean, I invite you to my house. We're barbecuing.
I didn't
Blake,
know.
come and watch hockey with us all day, right? And
Firecracker
what
sausage.
does he tell me to?
Firecracker sausage. Firecracker sausage.
Yes, you can come over and eat my meat.
Work.
I didn't know we were going to air with this, so I wasn't prepared with a response.
Yeah. There is no response. Okay.
Hey, more food for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
it.
Todd's right. You need to get some ad reads in, so have fun.
Oh, Dave, that's very kind. I'm a casual hockey fan, but I'm more of a fan of Sean Belegian. That's very nice. The other night you mentioned you've been on the air for 29 years. I have probably been a listener for most of the time. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Put that one on.
I don't hear touch it again. I think that didn't sound good. Yeah. There you go. No, I don't know what you did. So that's cool. We probably do have to get a read or 4 in, as a matter of fact. It's been that type of show. Let me tell you about Legacy Partners. They are big hockey fans. I was just talking to Joe from Legacy Partners about the Wings yesterday. And did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents and provide a full-service one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you, and help save you some money. I'm serious. Give them a call right now. Every one of you, they're hockey fans. They got your back. Get your quote. It doesn't cost you anything. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. Enter Legacy Partners. Give them a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Gordy said, touch it again. Yeah, I caught that, Gordy, Livonia legend. Eric said, let me guess, your dog is named after a hockey player.
No way. No dog.
Yeah,
He's definitely not named after a Canadian.
He's a schnoodle. He is a schnoodle, a mix between a schnauzer and a poodle. And in my lifetime, I had Chelios, who I got in 8th grade. I had Carrie. I'll let you figure out who that was for. I had Rocket. I'll let you figure out who that was for. And now the diminutive one,
Yes.
the small one, it fits. Cole.
And it's taken the longest for Cole to get to like me, so I'm kind of getting scared here.
Yeah, he's a rat. Look at him. Look at him.
Saturday.
He's staring at you right now. He wants to.
I
I think he wants to come over here and bite.
Probably bark at me, and I'm going to be here all day Saturday eating food.
So we have to have the weekly question.
Yep.
Will the Red Wings make the playoffs, Mike?
I'm still saying yes because I don't like anybody. I've watched way too much bad hockey. I'm looking at the numbers.
I think the schedule works against him now. I do.
It does. It's gonna be difficult. Last night was huge, which makes Thursday even more huger, right?
Tammy said no. Let me tell you something. Mac was bringing this up earlier, and I always bring up the Edmonton Oilers of 2006. Okay,
Yep.
Like bad matchup. It was a bad matchup, and that's before Pisani fell out of bed and woke up and thought he was Mike Bossy. Okay, that's even before then. Okay, they were in playoff. I'm serious when I say this. I wouldn't want anything to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins right now.
No,
I would want nothing to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins right now.
They are the one team, and if we go back, I want to say it was one of the first shows I said, even though they were further behind, that they were the one team that scared me. They were the only team at that time that had a positive goal differential. They're getting old. They're getting long in the tooth. Yes, all of them. However, Sidney Crosby is the difference maker on there. They finally put him up on one of my betting apps at 100-1 for the MVP. I can't get there with him, but Pittsburgh is the one team that I would put on there that I'm afraid of. Washington even the Islanders did what the Wings did against Buffalo. They came out on fire for 9 minutes. They scored 3 goals against the Rangers, and then they literally held on the rest of the game. They got extremely lucky that the Rangers just didn't win that game in regulation. But I'm not worried about them. Philly's quit, right? Washington, I'm sorry. I don't know how they do it, but you watch that game. You were at it last night. They had 7 shots on net, but they had 4 quality scoring chances that didn't even end up being shots on net because they missed the net or hit the post.
So many little things. I mean, they really are playing team hockey. There's so many little things with that team right now. Lindgren standing on top of his head didn't hurt anything, but it's not like you're seeing that on a night in, night out basis. You know what I mean?
And they've got a guy back there in John Carlson that gets absolutely no credit. And
100%.
That team goes as he goes. And then I think we were in a text thread and I was talking about Ovechkin. Watching that team, I'm surprised he's got 30 goals. Right. There is nobody there to feed it. They play man-to-man. They try to stop you in their end. They dump it out. They don't create anything. They're probably the slowest team I've seen this year.
Yeah.
But so I'm not worried about them. Is it going to be difficult? Yes. Are the odds against them? Yes, but their odds aren't that much different. My guy, Andy McNeil, has them at 30%, the Penguins at 33%, and the Capitals at 44.6%. The Islanders at 88%. That they're already up there, obviously. Going to need the Islanders to absolutely implode.
David said, did you guys talk about the Frozen Four? We're going to in just a second, but first let me talk to you about our friends at the Wealth Advantage Group. If you are ready to take charge of your financial future, you call the Handsome Brothers, not the Hanson Brothers, the Handsome Brothers. Look no further than those two. The Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by 2 brothers with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, raise his hand, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, kind of raise his hand, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world is a complex one. If you are ready to start taking your finances more seriously, give my friends a call. And I'm serious. They're next door neighbors, my financial advisors and friends of mine, Mike and Jeff Husak, and all the great folks at the Wealth Advantage Group. 248-773-8574. That's 248-773-8574. Or view their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Mike, your thoughts on the Frozen Four. I know I said this a couple weeks ago, but I feel the exact same way. Listen, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. BC is the team to beat. Everybody knows it. I'm telling you, with the talent that Michigan has at their disposal, of those 4 teams, I'm serious when I say this. If there was a team that could beat BC, I believe it's Michigan.
Yes. And if there's
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And if there's a team that could beat BU, remember we talked about this. I hate how long they have to wait to play this, by the way, because it was literally 18 weeks ago that we talked about this.
I agree with you. Can't stand it.
My point was that Seamus Casey's got to be healthy for them to do it. Without Seamus Casey, they lose a dimension back there on defense, New Jersey Devils. But he's a dynamic player that adds something to that. And I mean, they'll have it cut out for them because they're going to have to beat BU first, obviously, right? Is that the matchup? They got BC, then they got BC first, and they have BU. So I myself, in a perfect world, I'd watch BC BU all day. However, with Michigan in there, I would like to see Michigan get in there, and I do 100% believe that they can. They have the talent, they have the speed.
I do too.
Is the goaltending going to hold up? That's always been the question: is they can skate with them, they can play with them, but can they outscore them? Because they're going to put up goals on them.
Can we have a fun show one day where we talk about like dumb things, like Tammy just brought up a name? Can we have a dumb show one day where we talk about guys that maybe don't get the credit that they deserve? Tammy said, I was impressed with Gartner congratulating Ovi on passing him. Mike Gartner. You know what an underrated player. Seriously, Just
5,000 goals.
Yeah, he did. He scored 5,000 goals. You can check it. You look up. But when you hear people talk about like darn good play, whoever mentions Mike Gartner,
he's that guy. Like I could be getting this wrong if it was Michel Goulet that or one of the Quebec guys had. But when you look at the list of top scores, top points in that era and stuff, there's always a guy that stands out. And just looking at Mike Gartner and that damn mustache he had when he played, you wouldn't think it was much, but he was a goal scorer.
Yep.
He scored goals. Look at the mustache.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
Just pulled it up.
I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna pull it up
Always.
just for
Stash.
people.
I mean, you can't say anything else.
No. Here is a guy that when all was said and done, 708 goals, 627 assists, 1,335 points.
And if you went through a group of people that thought they were hockey fans, and you asked them, not one of them would come within 100 or 200 goals of that.
I agree with you.
I would have said, I knew he had 500. I would never have guessed 700 goals.
I agree. Just an underrated player who played on a bunch of teams that just faltered. There's no other way to say it. I always appreciated Mike Gartner. I really did.
And he was a huge deadline trade in 94. Keenan didn't like him and got rid of him. And I know he got all the Oilers back. So I don't know if he went was it Glenn Anderson they got for him?
I could look it up. I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Glenn Anderson that
he got rid of, if you remember, he got rid of Amani. He didn't like Tony Amani. And that was, I hate to say it, plug your ears. You know who he got from that deal? Stefan
Matteau and Noonan.
Noonan. Yeah.
From Chicago.
Exactly.
Because Amani went to Chicago.
Look at those numbers, dude. Like, come on.
I would have,
like I said, seriously, look at those numbers. I'm sorry. He was insane. He damn good player. So, Tammy, thanks for the idea. We're going to talk about guys who tragically don't get the respect that they deserve one day. We'll have some fun. We'll have some fun with that. All right. Anything else before we got to get out of here? I know I got to tell you about our favorite realtor, but is there anything else I need to get out there? You're my brains.
You have been saying something for a month. That is gonna haunt Red Wings fans, right. and it's really looking like it's the regulation win. Every time our friend Hubie sends us a text, you just send back our RW. You know what I say every time? What right winger? What are we talking about? What are we doing here? But you've been talking about it for a while, and as I say that, I think the Wings are gonna. This is where it could totally hurt them, but I'm still going with it. You never answered, though.
What did I need to answer?
Whether they were going to make the playoffs or not.
No.
Okay.
No. That the schedule, I think the way that Pittsburgh's playing, Toronto's not going to be easy. And obviously Matthews is going to be going for 70, which I'm not going to hedge my bet. I think he's going to get it, Mike. I do. I think he's going to get it.
He is. And he's so damn.
Yeah.
And watch them in that line with Bert and Domi. They're playing real well. That's a great compliment right there. Those are the things that weren't happening when Maple Leaf was losing and not making it past the first round. They've got some good combinations there. They're stretching those lines out. But yeah, I do think he's going to do it now.
So, and somebody brought this up. Listen, as somebody who watches the Habs most nights, you never know what you're going to get out of them. The Wings could legitimately pound them both times, like legitimately, okay? Or the Habs could win both of them. Like you just don't. I mean, that typical really young team right now. That top line, they're all babies with Slafkovsky and Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. They're getting good goaltending right now from Sam, and in particular, I think Caden Primo. But you never know what you're going to get out of them. The Wings should beat them. The Wings are a better team than them. Make no mistake about that. But typical young team, you just don't know what you're going to get night in, night out.
I think it's closer than you're going to give it credit to because you don't want to be called a slappy. But right now, watching those games, it really looks like the Canadians are playing for something more than the Wings are, if I can say that. And the youth that are playing for, we're coming. We know we're not making the playoffs. The Habs know
that's a good point.
They're coming. They're playing well. Maybe Primo's playing for a job, playing for a spot, playing for his career. but they seem to be playing for something a little bit more than the Red Wings right now.
You know what's going to be really, really interesting to me is to see how they react tomorrow, the Red Wings. I'm going to be really intrigued at that because I'm going to say it again. You and I have privately been talking about Pittsburgh a lot the past couple. I'm not saying they're going to beat one of the top dogs. Okay. I'm not saying that, but I wouldn't want to play him. In my opinion, I think in this town, Sidney Crosby is massively underestimated. It's gross, seriously. And I get a lot of it goes back to 2008 and 2009. I get that. He is an unbelievable hockey player. And once again, his peers said he's the most complete hockey player in the league. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what does. He's been on a tear. I mean, he picked everybody up on that roster and put him on his shoulders.
And for those that aren't, and I know a lot of times Detroit Red Wing fans don't turn into NHL fans and watch games, but you have to watch. I know you're going to be watching Thursday. Watch the way Crosby's been playing. He had a couple shifts the other day. So, and this will go against anything Red Wing fan thinks. He created 2 scoring chances. His guy got buried in the corner. He went and he stood up and he knocked that guy on his ass and stood up for him. Comes back. He's doing absolutely everything. I need people just to stop. Just stop.
Scott said the Wings seem to be playing on their heels. No urgency. It's okay. So the 10-minute spurt, Buffalo, remember the first shift of the game Sunday, Buffalo came out and you're like, oh boy, this is going to be ugly. One shift. And then to me, it was like almost a return to the puck possession heyday of Mike Babcock. I mean, it just seemed like they had real estate all over Buffalo's end. I mean, really, for 10 minutes, it seemed like, and the puck was constantly on their stick. And, obviously they popped the 3 goals and everything. But Scott, to your point, those moments are too few and far between the last couple weeks. That's disgusting.
But then they were outshot, I think, 28 or 30-14 the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So it's that complete game. That's where there's a lot of things we could sit and say the Wings need and they've got to get to. That's one of them. But I think Blake's going to kill us if you don't do that.
So when it is time for you to buy a house, maybe you're selling your house, maybe you're doing both, you need to contact the right agent. The agent that we all recommend here is Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville, and she has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. They are experts in all facets of business. When it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and that everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. They got your back. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. All right? Fantastic. Anything else before we get out of here? We went too long. Blake and I are going to be back tomorrow, and Blake's still going to blow us off on Saturday, which is cool.
We will have the championship game too, so that'll be hopefully it's Michigan BU. That'd be
and
a good
you
one.
know what? So I can tell everybody before. So listen, I'm doing andouille sausage and jerk shrimp and a couple racks of ribs. And what are you doing?
Firecracker sausage. I was gonna do some shotgun shells, but I don't have the patience for it this weekend.
Firecracker sausage.
Firecracker. So I'm heading over to Milford to the butcher to get some firecracker sausage, and that'll go right along with it because it's like jalapeno cheddar jerk Cajun.
It's so damn good.
That's unbelievable.
So that means more for us.
Yeah. So we will have that pound of firecracker sausage, a rack of ribs each.
Thank you, Brett.
And a pound of shrimp and andouille.
Yeah, I got it in the freezer right there.
Oh, awesome.
All right. So listen, thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this, tell your friends about it. Oh, look at Tammy said Village Butcher.
Yeah. Firecracker sausage.
Tell your friends about it. We're talking hockey. We're going to do it all summer too.
Yeah.
No, you think I'm joking, don't you? Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no, we're not. Todd, thank you. Mean Blake, thank you. Darren McCarty, thank you so much. Once again, April 27th, Big Boy Arena, Ranger Wing alumni game. Make sure you turn on WDIV Friday morning. There's some really cool video and pictures coming up. You're not going to want to miss it. Once they view it or show it, we'll show it on here, but it's WDIV intellectual property. So obviously we're going to give them the first shot. We got to get out of here. Say bye, Mike.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.
See you soon.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.